into a slave to the system, to an electronic matrix of control. And so cowboys didn't have that. It is the Maritime Admiralty law that turned the constitutional law upside down. The constitutional law being the law of the land, the just law, the good law, the law of natural rights, the law of the people, the law of freedom, as opposed to the law of the sea, the Maritime Admiralty law, the law of the sea, the law of trade, the law of commodity. So this Maritime Admiralty law turned every citizen into a commodity subservient to the corporation of the United States of America, while the Constitution was based upon libertarian philosophy, the natural rights, classical liberalism, laissez-faire, personal lifestyle, choice of personal lifestyle like the cowboy had, the freedom that the cowboy had. So we have to get away from the system. This is why we have to eliminate conservative and liberal government. It is an oppressive, totalitarian system set up in the late 1800s. From then on to the establishment of the Federal Reserve, to the New Deal, to the Fair Deal, to the Cold War, to George Bush, the Department of National Security of 9/11. It's all this increasing control from the late 1800s. Now I could say the Maritime Admiralty law came about the beginning of the Gilded Age, and the Gilded Age was the beginning of mass American industrialization, and in which the corporations took all the power. So it makes sense that this Maritime Admiralty law came about during the time of the Gilded Age of corruption and of corporate power, in which the United States of America became a corporation to make every person a worker, a slave to the factory system, a slave to the corporations, a slave to the governments, to programs, to progressivism, to labor unions, to war, to be drafted into war, to income tax, to permits, to licenses, to all these regulations and controlling mechanisms. And there is no law that makes us pay an income that says that we must pay an income tax. There's no law that says that the IRS exists. The IRS and income tax are both illegal measures. IRS being an illegal organization and the income tax being an illegal measure. And it's illegal that the IRS arrests someone for not paying their income tax. Well, it is all illegal in the first place. And the Constitution was based on the ideal of a very small amount of taxes. That is what it was. The Constitution was opposed to in the first place, was excessive taxation. Yet we have that today, as it began with the New Deal policy. So we have to liberate ourselves from this totalitarian form of state, and to and Social Security and the idea of the government program started with a militaristic state. The idea of the government program came from I think it was Otto von, a leader of Prussia, and Prussia was a militaristic state, and it was this Prussia that came up with the idea of the government program, the country that invented Social Security. So now America today and the European Union are both representative of this militaristic totalitarian system of Prussia, and the government programs and the licenses and permits and everything else that bind us as a worker and slave to corporations and the system. And as the Maritime Admiralty law coming into effect at the time of the Gilded Age of the rise of corporations and large government and progressivism and everything else that came at that time. So we must take our natural right to be free, our natural right to settle freely, our natural right to 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 start a business without a permit, the right to drive without a license, the right to not having to fill all this paperwork, the right to be free from birth certificates, the right to not being a commodity of the corporate structure of the corporations and the corporate government. The government is a corporation, a corporate a this corp this the corporation, which is the governments of the world, especially that of the European Union and America. These corporate type governments are fascists in every sense. These these governments are masters and geniuses of control. We have to liberate ourselves from their oppression and totalitarian control of the world and of the common person. We must we must take the common law, the true law, the, the constitution, the law of the land into our own hands. We must be active in the cause to uphold our natural rights, which have surely been violated by the governments, and people are mistaken. People think that the government, it's the duty of the government to protect our natural rights. No, it is not. It is the duty of the people to define what their natural rights are and to demand from the government to respect the natural rights of the people, the natural rights as set by John Locke: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it is the function, the duty of the government to serve the people, to adequately run the society, to establish order, to to be of service to the people, to be of service to society, to organize society for the sake of the peace and prosperity of the human race. So it's all of this that has been going on that no one is aware of. No one is aware of this. People are just so clueless about things, clueless about what's going on, clueless about the matrix of control that has been set up since the Maritime Admiralty law, which has made us um, solely into peasants. This is very much the same as the feudalism of medieval Europe, of medieval China, of medieval Russia, and and all those other places and provinces and old and countries of old that had this feudalist system. It is a system of control we must liberate ourselves from, and that is why libertarianism is the best alternative, since libertarianism rids of all these government programs, rids of permits, rids ourselves of licenses, of all of these paperwork and regulations, and of the birth certificate and the death certificate, releasing us from the corporate structure, um, um, uplifting ourselves from the state of commodity, the state of peasant, the state of commodity, to the state of a sovereign, of full independence, of full possession of natural rights. It is libertarianism that would release us from this corporate structure with this mass matrix of world control set by set by the politicians and the elites which are above the politicians. These groups of this group of individuals that set up this whole modern and postmodern world. And I'm not saying libertarianism is the perfect form of the perfect philosophy of authority and government. There might be something else in the future that might be much more better than what libertarianism is today. But we should bring back libertarianism and liberate this world from the shameful and diabolical psychotic control that has arisen, the government totalitarian giants that is oppressing and has created a a fascist form of control all over this world. That that is all.